at this afternoon's top stories. St. Kitts Nevis officials to receive training in new labor system. Chastanet says mega investment deals should be debated in Parliament, and U.S. Senate divided over Trump's education secretary pick. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, the 7th of February 2017. I am Shaira Flanders. Nationally, officials from a number of public sector agencies are joining with representatives from the private sector and trade unions at a workshop designed to advance efforts in the creation of a regional labor management information system, or LMIS. The LMIS will allow for the effective and timely monitoring of changes in employment and unemployment levels in St. Kitts and Nevis, which will influence policy. Acting Commissioner in the Department of Labor, Shernell James, said the data will be pivotal in monitoring employment changes for government, employers and workers to devise appropriate employment policies and adjust to varying conditions in the labor market. While assisting local institutions in program planning, the information will ultimately be used to shape policy for the Caribbean community. Ms. James said that when established, the LMIS will allow for the proper management of the free movement of people provided for under the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, or CSME. The workshop is being held at the Ocean Terrace Inn and is drawing participation from representatives from the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the St. Kitts Trades and Labor Union, the St. Kitts Teachers Union, the Department of Labor, the Social Security Board, the Department of Youth Empowerment, the Ministries of International Trade, Education, Finance, Sustainable Development, Health and Legal and Justice Affairs, and the Human Resource Management Department. Meanwhile, Senior Minister and Minister of Labor in the Federal Cabinet, Honorable Vance Amory, has welcomed the February 6th to 9th Labor Management Information System, or LMIS, training workshop that will expand the world of work opportunities to nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis. Honorable Amory said that the system will provide statistical information that will be used in shaping policies and programs that will have a positive impact on the local labor market. Rosa May Whittier, Free Movement and Labor Officer in the CSME unit, is facilitating several sessions of the training in St. Kitts and Nevis and other regional territories. She said that while there seems to be a lot of information collected in various countries, the analysis of such data is lacking. Software for the establishment of the LMIS and the computers to operate it will be provided by the CARICOM Secretariat, which received funding for the project under the 10 European Development Fund, or EDF. The Ministry of National Security, in collaboration with the Private Sector Coalition for Support of Security Initiatives, will be holding an Uprooting Crime and Violence National Crime Reduction Symposium at the St. Kitts Marriott Resort on Thursday, 9th February 2017 from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. After opening remarks by the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, the keynote presenter, Dr. Niels Chaitin, will engage a cross-section of about 200 stakeholders in discovering and addressing 12 psychosocial roots that feed prevalent crimes. This will be followed by open discussion on the 12 roots of crime, as well as any other issues that, in the opinion of stakeholders, need to be addressed in order to uproot crime and violence in St. Kitts and Nevis. Participants will then meet in professional or special interest groups. The root of crime that is most familiar to their profession will be identified, and using the guidelines that will be provided, they will discuss and build at least one relevant strategy to address that route. All strategies will be collected, and using the EDER framework will be categorized under one of the 4 EDER components: enforcement, diagnosis, education and rehabilitation, thereby building a St. Kitts and Nevis national comprehensive strategy for crime reduction. Moving on to news on the regional scene, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance in St. Lucia, Alan Chastanet, recently shared his views on whether mega investment deals should be debated in Parliament. Here's more.
Prime Minister Chastanet says the Labrie MP definitely made sense when he called for mega investments like the Desert Star Holdings deal to be debated in Parliament. Alpha Baptiste says this would ensure that the country is aware of all potential investments that can impact their lives. The Prime Minister says the suggestion is a good one, but the SLP administration is on record as signing some big deals which became public after the fact.
I agree with him. Well, I mean, when I signed the agreement with DSH, it was public. So I'm encountering more and more contracts that were signed by the former government that I didn't know existed, and I'm sure you didn't know. You know, there's one of them that's actually circulating on social media. And there are many more like that. So I would like to think that the Labour Party is going to be adopting that policy. I think it's a good policy. But I applaud the fact that the Labour Party now has understood and has appreciated they should not be signing agreements, because you had Rochamel, you had a lot of other agreements. Grindberg, classic case. And I'm only hoping now that there's this new transparency on their part.
Chasney says it is curious that a St. Lucia Labour Party administration failed to implement such a policy. He says the goals behind the suggestion are accountability and transparency, which are among the tenets of his corporate style of governance.
Because people keep on trying to suggest there's absolutely no relationship between business and government. There is. The structures, the organization structures are the same. So in my mind, the shareholders of the government of St. Lucia are the taxpayers and the citizens of this country. We've been elected as the board of directors. As board of directors, our responsibility is to control and direct the assets of the state to the best benefit of the country, not individuals, of the country. And we must be able to justify what those are. There are times in which, if you're going to be in negotiations with people, that there is going to be a requirement for confidentiality. You may be dealing with a company that has a special recipe or a special program, and they want to do that. You have companies that want to take their competitors by surprise. They don't want their competitors to know they're actually in negotiations to be able to come somewhere. Okay, so they want that to be a particular surprise. So transparency is not what is in the contents of the agreement. Transparency is that the process that we used to be able to sign that, and what we did to perform the due diligence is what was the right way.
The Prime Minister says DSH is the first major deal signed by his administration, and he maintains that it is, quote, in the public eye. He says as for future agreements, he will let the media and public know well in advance when his administration is negotiating with a potential investor and when documents are signed. He, however, believes that making the contents of a deal public does not constitute transparency. What does, he says, is assuring the public that due diligence has been conducted.
CEO of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, says local farmers can produce all the eggs needed for local consumption and that there is no need for imported eggs. More in this Nation News Barbados report.
CEO of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, is again chastising the private sector for importing items which local farmers can produce adequately. Speaking during a press conference at the BAS Beccles Road St. Michael office, he said there was no reason for businesses to import eggs.
This country is 100% self-sufficient in the production of eggs. And we have farmers large and small who actually produce eggs and they sell them to the local market. So these are both large and small persons. Why is it then that we have these corporations that have come into this country, some of them, who will still seek to try to bring eggs into this country, when at the same time we have shown that the local market can meet the local demand for eggs? We have got to, we are operating in a situation where we have got to be creative in Barbados about either earning foreign exchange or saving foreign exchange. And the agricultural sector, I think, when we listen to the thing from the central bank governor, I think really that the agricultural sector offers Barbadians the opportunity to address the issue of earning foreign exchange and saving foreign exchange. But it will not work if we have these renegade elements in our private sector who, for their own interests and not for the interests of the country, will proceed to engage in actions that basically will disrupt the livelihood of thousands of Barbadians who are engaged in the agricultural sector. And these are some of the fundamental issues which need to be brought to the fore. that we cannot have that type of recklessness of creating inequality.
Moving on to news on the international scene, as the U.S. Senate prepares to vote on Betsy DeVos's nomination for Secretary of Education, it appears the vote could be very close. One reason why she is not liked by many Democrats and even some Republicans is her support for privately operated charter schools.
If confirmed, I look forward.
President Donald Trump's nominee for Education Secretary is getting a lesson on Capitol Hill.
I come to the floor to announce a very difficult decision that I have made, and that is to vote against the confirmation of Betsy DeVos to be our nation's next Secretary of Education.
I have heard from thousands, truly thousands of Alaskans who've shared their concerns about Mrs. DeVos.
Those are two fellow Republicans joining all 48 Democrats in opposition. To understand the uprising against President Trump's most embattled nominee, just go to her home state of Michigan and ask Arlissa Hurd.
Betsy DeVos was wrong for this state. She sure in the heck was wrong for Detroit, and she's damn sure wrong for the nation.
In Michigan, they've been dealing with the DeVos family and charter schools for decades. But here in Detroit, many parents and educators say if Betsy DeVos does for American schools what charter schools have done for Detroit, it won't be pretty. DeVos has never been a teacher, a school administrator, a parent of public school children, or applied for a college loan. But as a major campaign contributor to the Republican Party, she has used her wealth to fund and press for alternative charter schools with a spotty track record. Charters are schools run with public funds by private organizations that don't have to adhere to the strict curriculum or union hiring rules of traditional public schools.
About half the kids who live in the city of Detroit go to charter schools, and Detroit student achievement is very low. So national assessments tell us that Detroit students perform pretty much the worst of any urban city in the country.
Charter schools have many supporters, but none of those we asked here would talk to us. Dawn Wilson Clark is the mother of 7. 3 were in Detroit charters.
They changed management companies. They fired principals. They fired teachers. They forced the teachers into a 20% pay cut. And it was just chaotic. We don't have a system in Detroit that allows the charter schools that affords the charter schools the same accountability that the public schools have. So school choice in Detroit is a joke.
All 3 daughters are now in private schools. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Detroit.
Somalia's capital is under a 48-hour lockdown before MPs elected the next president on Wednesday. The vote was delayed after several attacks by the armed group Al-Shabaab. Here's more.
On Mogadishu's narrow streets, security forces are maintaining a high profile. They are here to implement a 48-hour lockdown of the city ahead of presidential elections slated for Wednesday this week. Somalia's 328 legislators will be electing a new president in a ceremony to be held at the city's international airport.
We are here to ensure that the elections pass peacefully. We appeal to the public to be patient and cooperate with us as we deter the enemies of peace from carrying out attacks.
Security in areas surrounding the city has also been beefed up. Roads will remain closed to all but security vehicles until after the elections. Businesses have been ordered to shut down, and schools and universities have given students a 2-day break. Somali government forces and African Union peacekeepers will be carrying out a massive security operation in and outside the capital. For them, the priority is for the election process to pass without a hitch. This is what they are trying to avoid. As the elections draw nearer, Al-Shabaab fighters have stepped up their attacks against hotels in the capital and government installations. Their tactics have remained the same for years. They ram the gates with a car full of explosives to gain entry. After the initial explosion, more gunmen wearing suicide vests enter hotels and buildings, going from room to room, killing people before blowing themselves up when they run out of ammunition. Hotel owners have been strengthening their defenses. Their businesses depend on it. Bashir Yusuf owns Mogadishu's Peace Hotel. he has been forced to hire armed and well-trained security guards.
Security consumers is the 70% of our income, and symbol of that, because if you don't secure your clients, no clients will come.
Somalia's fledgling security forces say they will do everything to ensure there is no major Al-Shabaab attack this week. They are ill-equipped and are rarely paid their dues. Yet they continue to ungrudgingly play their role in the fight for a functioning state in Somalia. That fight has barely begun. Mohammed Ado, Al Jazeera, Mogadishu, Somalia.
And now for the weather. Present weather is partly cloudy. Winds are moderate from the northeast-east at 18 miles per hour. Seas are moderate to rough with heights up to 8 feet, primarily on the eastern side of the islands. A small craft warning is in effect and beachgoers should exercise caution. The weather forecast predicts partly cloudy skies with a moderate chance of showers. Tonight will be occasionally cloudy with a 40% chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:10 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:40 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZLIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.